Welcome to the golf edition of Hooked on Sport. This is South Australia's summer golf wrap, where we uncover the stories, personalities and moments that define golf across South Australia and beyond. It's time to talk golf with sports commentator Ben Hook and state golf representative Sophie Hilditch.
Good on you, Wallace. Thanks very much. Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hooked on Sport. There are so many options we could be talking about today. Australian rules football is just around the corner. The NRL has already been off to Las Vegas. Australia and India are still doing battle in the Women's Cricket Series. The Adelaide Cup is coming up on Monday. The Asia Cup Soccer, the Matildas are in action on the Gold Coast on Thursday night. But we here at Hooked on Sport love focusing on our golf from South Australia right across the globe. And there is no one better in South Australia to talk to on golf than Sophie Hilditch. Soph, g'day. What an amazing weekend of golf it was.
Hookie, it was an incredible weekend of golf. I'm very happy you were listing just a long list of other sports. And I thought, oh my God, am I on the right podcast? Because I don't think I'm equipped to talk about any of these at the moment.
Yes. Well, the footy has sort of jumped up and smacked me in the face, you know. I mean, it's opening round that starts on Thursday night. I'm still very much in cricket mode because I've been following Australia and India, that cricket series, and of course I'll be involved in the Adelaide Cup on Monday. So, yeah, the AFL has almost snuck up on me. I can't believe that that's right in front of us. Of course, the Crows and Port Adelaide are still a week away. Hey, just before we get on to golf, just a couple of words on Alyssa Healy for me, please. I know you know your cricket, 100 in her final one-day game for Australia. What an icon of the game she has become.
She's really led Australian cricket. Like, I know there's been a lot of amazing cricketers that have come before her. Women's cricket is really just on an upwards bounce. It's impressive. Alyssa Healy has had an exceptional career. I know there's a lot of commentary out there expressing just that. She deserves all the credit that is coming her way. I distinctly remember being quite young and hearing Alyssa Healy's name, and it's probably something that really sparked my interest in cricket. I wasn't particularly, I mean, our listeners can go back and listen to my podcast with my own father who played Test cricket, and they will hear that I wasn't particularly interested in cricket as a junior or a kid. But someone like Alyssa Healy, a bit more of an icon, someone as a young female that I could follow and be a bit more interested in because I saw myself in her, even though I didn't even play cricket. She is an icon, and she has really kick-started Australian cricket and Australian female cricket on that journey.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I did get a chuckle though, Soph, and I don't know if you caught up with this, but Mitchell Starc was in commentary for Channel 7 throughout that 100, and you could see how proud he was of her century. Late in that game, she came on to bowl. She's never bowled international cricket before in her life, and her first bowl, a typical wicketkeeper, she bowls, you know, really smelly little off-spinners, and the first ball she bowled was a half-track pie that got hit down to deep backward square leg for 4. And Mitchell Starc, in commentary, just said, "Yeah, not that easy, is it?" Which I thought was absolutely beautiful. The relationship between those two is superb. They have great golf contests between the two of them. I know that they have a career golf battle between the two of them, and that's probably a good way to segue into our own discussion about golf. Could you just get me underway, please, Soph, with Sophie's star for the week?
Well, I would absolutely love to. Talking about Alyssa Healy, Sophie's star goes over to the golfing realm. And how could I go past our own Australian Hannah Green winning her 7th LPGA Tour at the Women's World Championship in Singapore? Green held off just a world-class field, including fellow Aussie Minjee Lee, with a 3-under final round, 14 under for the total for the victory. Ben, you talked some serious smack about this tournament last week. How could it be called a world championship? Well, you know what? It on repeat has world-class winners. Hannah Green is a second-time winner of this event, winning it in 2024. She is world-class. She is well-deserving of a world championship title. Hannah Green, Sophie Star for the week.
I don't know if the quality of the winner necessarily warrants it being represented as a world championship. They have had some world-class winners, so if you're right there, I mean, Lydia Ko won this tournament last year, and she is, one of the superstars of the game as well. Can't argue with you, though. Hannah Green, deservedly Sophie's star for the week. I'll give you Ben's best. And we follow pennant golf pretty closely here. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about pennant golf today. Can I give you Ben's best as someone who actually declined to play pennant golf on the weekend, Soph? What do you think about that?
Interesting. Must have been a good reason.
So Darren Baines is my Ben's best for the week for the fact that he did pull out of pennant golf to represent the Grange on Sunday, because he and partner Sophie welcomed a little girl into the world. I think it was on Friday. So Bainesy, of course, pulled out to spend time with his newly expanded family. So congratulations to Darren Baines of the Grange Golf Club and partner Sophie on the arrival of Amelia. It was the reason why he was out of the team on Sunday. They had a massive win, the Grange, which we'll touch on very shortly. But Ben's best this week as a golfer for not playing, congratulations to Darren Baines, to Sophie, and welcome Amelia to the world. She might be a handy little Sanderson Cup player in about 15 years' time, Soph.
Cookie, I absolutely love it. I'm very excited to welcome a new perfect little bundle of joy into this world. But Ben's best, by God. Just you twist every single turn we can possibly make. You've even chosen someone today for not having a sporting achievement. I love it. Look, I'm all here. I'm so excited for the pair of them and for the new bundle of joy, but incredible stuff. And you'll twist this just perfectly to talk about how good of a guy you are, because you're not just referencing a sporting achievement, but you're referencing a life achievement. I'm going to enjoy you twisting this because you will.
There's no need to twist it, Soph. You're absolutely correct. I mean, it just does emphasise the quality of human being that I am, that I decided to use my Ben's best to congratulate someone on a family moment rather than a trivial sporting achievement like you chose the road to go down. Just focusing in on a very, very good athlete winning a very, very good tournament. You know, shrug my shoulders. Who really cares? Someone's brought new life into the world, and I think that's reflective on me, the fact that I've celebrated it rather than anything else.
Of course, naturally, Hookie. Well, can we get back to the golf potentially?
Well, where do you want to start? Because I think, and we've got a huge show coming up. In fact, we've got a huge week coming up, Soph, and it's probably worth just sharing with everyone what is going on over the course of the rest of this week. As part of this episode, part one of a two-part series in our preview of the Sanderson Cup. It gets underway at your golf club, Royal Adelaide Golf Club, on Sunday, March the 8th. We're going to catch up later in this episode with Emily Giotis from the Kooyonga Golf Club and Hannah Custance from the Blackwood Golf Club, two of the key players from both of their teams. By Thursday, an episode that you have done on your own, the Women's Golf Roundtable, which is just an incredible piece of work that you have put together that features Sarah King, Anne-Marie Knight and Sarah Cheer talking about their own experiences in and around golf. And then Friday, part two of our Sanderson Cup will drop. That is where we featured Jill Hodge from the Glenelg Golf Club and Millie Winnie from the Grange Golf Club, as well as our preview of round three of the men's Simpson Cup. So we've got a busy week ahead, mate. We better get into it, hey?
Yeah, we definitely better get into it, Ben. That's why I'm trying to get you to get on your horses and get going.
Let's talk about round two of the Simpson Cup. I'll start with the match between Tea Tree Gully and Royal Adelaide. Tea Tree Gully won this pretty comfortably in the end, 5.5 to 1.5. Worth noting, Soph, that you said in our preview last week that Matthew McMahon was a must-win for Tea Tree Gully after he copped a bit of a beating from Cade Bryant when they played Glenelg in the opening round. Well, he certainly did his business. He had an excellent win against Billy Cawthorne. I mean, what a critical win that was for the club. For the Royal Adelaide side, two youngsters, Billy White and Hudson Haynes, were very valiant at this level, but went down on the 18th hole to Will Summerfield and Grant DeBarras, respectively. Only Anthony Olsen was a winner for Royal Adelaide. And then I guess probably the question for Royal Adelaide now, they're at home next week. They'll play Thaxted Park. That's a really important match for them all of a sudden. Will Arnold and my man Henry Lawson, no wins as yet, so we need to see them start to turn it around. Tea Tree Gully sitting pretty. They're in second place on the table. Royal Adelaide now find themselves out of the four. They need a big result this coming week, Soph.
Yeah, they do need a big result. I will say, as you were going through all those matches, whilst the 5.5 and the 1.5, it looks a bit grim. I still think there's a lot of things positive to take for the Royal Adelaide boys. They were mainly all close games, and it sounds like it just came down to a few putts here and there, but it's definitely this week at home against Thaxted Park. They're going to need a big win. I do think this is one of those seasons that the amount of individual wins that you have, the amount of individual matches that you have, may make a difference in coming into that top four.
We'll move on to match number 2. Kooyonga flexed their muscles against Thaxted Park. It was a 6-1 victory. Freddie Castle, probably the only minor concern for the mob down at Lockley's. He's gone 0-2 in the first 2 weeks, but everyone else in that team is humming right now. Very pleased for Jackson Cowell, Soph. He copped a pretty big loss last weekend in their match against the Grange, but he had a solid win 3-1 as part of this, so he'll be back on track. Thaxted, I reckon we'll discuss in the preview show later in the week. They've gone 6-1 down, 6-1 down now, so they really need to hold it together. They're playing away to Royal Adelaide next weekend, so they just need to hold it together and start to try and pick and choose their targets. They just don't need another big blowout because that can really demoralise the group, and there's still so much to play for them.
100% agree. The blowouts do really hurt, and Thaxted Park, that's 2 weeks in a row of a couple of blowouts. Again, though, much like RA and TTG, a couple of clutch games within that. It wasn't all doom and gloom. And again, it's something to turn their interest to, because if they really break it down, again, they weren't far off against a really impressive team of Kooyonga.
And well done to Jordan Sherritt as well, Soph. He was the winner over Freddie Castle. And he was one that we identified last week that had to stand up. He did his bit. Unfortunately, couldn't bring the rest of his team along with him. But they're going to be a really interesting watch for the rest of the year, Thaxted. I feel like we're in a bit of a situation now where we've got 6 genuine contenders for 4 spots. And I feel like Mount Osmond and Thaxted are probably sort of in that battle to try and avoid last place. And I feel like Mount Osmond have got their noses in front right now, and that's going to be an interesting battle in the coming weeks.
100% agree. Well, you've got to turn us to that Glenelg-Mount Osmond game, because that's exactly where my mind was turning.
Well, it was a big win for Glenelg, but I don't think they'll be celebrating it like a season changer, Soph. It was 4.5, 2.5 in their favour. 5 of the 7 matches were decided either on the 17th hole or later, so this wasn't quite the emphatic victory that I think Glenelg were probably searching for after they went down to Tea Tree Gully at home last weekend. Couple of things that were really important. Firstly, Michael Munn, the captain, had a win. That was really important for them. I think when you're under a little bit of pressure, for your captain to stand up, I think that it's like a bit of a rising tide that lifts all boats, Soph. So well done to Mickey Munn, good mate of mine. Very pleased that he got that win after a loss to Tea Tree Gully last weekend. Then I thought Nick Waite coming in was really important for Glenelg. I mean, he's senior eligible now. He's the club champion, though, and he just provides a lot of stability to that group. He had a really good win over Nick Hill, and Nick Hill was in excellent form against Royal Adelaide the week before. That was a really important one. Look, Mount Osmond, they're not chopping trees down, Soph, but they're taking off a fair bit of bark. Leonard going down to Ken Chan was a bit of a surprise to me in a way, but at the same time, Ken Chan is just so consistent, doesn't do anything absolutely spectacular, but he's a consistent player. And around a place like Tea Tree Gully, he can just wear you down with smart golf. And then Ben Walters had a massive win over Ryan Fletcher. Now, Ryan Fletcher had a huge 7-5 win last week. So for Ben Walters to get a win over him was awesome for Mount Osmond. And then Dylan Wan, the youngster, had a half as well. So I really feel like for Mount Osmond, staying up is well within reach at the moment, and there'll be a really interesting watch alongside Thaxted Park for the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely. I took the same thing exactly. We're on the same page, really. Looking at the Glenelg-Mount Osmond score, I was more impressed with Mount Osmond with the 2.5 points on the board. Mount Osmond, like you said, have come up from A2s. It's a big jump. It's a huge jump. But they are starting to show their teeth. And if I was Thaxted Park, I'd be a little bit worried about it.
The other thing about Mount Osmond, Soph, is that 6 of their 7 players now have picked up at least half a point in the first 2 weeks, and they didn't have an easy draw first up, right? They played Glenelg on the weekend just gone, and they were Royal Adelaide the week before. Now, that's the champion and the semi-finalist. So they haven't had an easy draw at all, and they've been in and around it in both of their matches. So, yeah, they're going to be a fascinating watch ongoing for the rest of the year. And if they stayed up, I think you know the story. They came up in 2024, having not been up for 28 years, went straight back down, got bundled out straight away, finished bottom and back down to A2s. Back up this year, and I feel like that they've done a lot of work, Soph. It looks like they're really well prepared, and I just think they're going to be really exciting.
Well, how about that Grange and Vines game? Can you give us a bit of a rundown of that?
Amazing fixture. It was an absolute classic between the two of them. The Grange gets over the line 4-3. There was a bit of chaos with the Grange in the lead up. They had two changes. Alex Kendrick was out due to work, and we talked about Darren Baines as well. So that was a little bit unsettling. The Vines did have some changes as well. Robert Liddell was originally out for Charlie Nobbs, and then he came back in because Alex Germano missed, and I'm not quite sure why. But so both teams were a little bit unsettled heading into this match. I thought this was probably a poor matchup for the Grange, being at Tea Tree Gully, but their middle order really stood up, Soph. Jackson Bogdowski, Bugsy as he's known as, got over Rob Liddell. Mark Damasi coming into the team beat Tony Nobbs. That is no mean feat because Tony Nobbs is just such a pro in this form of the game. Blair Christie had a win over Ben Pearce. Now, that's a really interesting story in its own right. I'll get to that. And then Alan Zinn beat Charlie Nobbs, and Charlie Nobbs was the incoming player into that team. Really satisfying result. Had a conversation with Blair Christie today. He said the boys were really buoyant about it. They knew what a challenge this was going to be. Special mention to Sam Earl, 5-time Team of the Year member, and he's on track for 6. He shot 4 under yesterday to beat Ross Steedman. I spoke to Ross Steedman briefly. He said, you know, what can I do? That's just out of this world golf on a place like Tea Tree Gully to be 4 under through 14 and then shaking hands. He's a complete stud, Sam Earl. So, yeah, the Grange very, very excited with what they did. It gets them back on track after that loss to Kooyonga last weekend. And, you know, we had them penciled in, Soph, that they were going to be definite semi-finalists, likely finalists, and that was a really important win for them. They did everything right.
Yeah, it was a massive win. That was a big game. It was identified, like you said, in the preview for this upcoming week. I think it's a big win for the Grange. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked Grange got the win. I think that's who we said would get the win, but it was close, just like we anticipated.
So that's our wrap of Pennant Golf here in South Australia. Why don't we expand our horizons a little bit? You've already touched on Hannah Green's incredible win at the Singapore World Championships, the LPGA event. I watched a lot of this on Sunday afternoon, but I'm interested in your insights. What do you take away from Hannah Green's victory?
Well, I mean, I chose her as Sophie Star, so I'm obviously ecstatic for her win. And I always talk about it, but the camaraderie of the Australian golfers, seeing the celebration when they all ran out onto that green and they're all celebrating. Grace Kim needs to learn how to pop a champagne bottle and spray it properly at some point because the Australians just keep on winning. She just dumps it on the head rather than sprays it. It's hilarious. But look, Hannah Green was undoubtedly the best player over 72 holes. Her 4th round in particular, Minjee Lee will be disappointed with her final round, even par, but just watching everyone just continuously short side themselves whilst Hannah Green was basically just going middle of the green the entire time, playing it relatively safe, but holding putts. I also like to see Hannah Green actually had Jared Felton on her bag, which is her husband. Yep. Her usual caddy couldn't leave the US because he's currently trying to get his green card. And it was quite interesting listening to her interview at the end of the round because she admitted that she had nerves coming down the stretch. She started birdie on the first hole, eagle on the 5th, and got off to a flyer. But she started to falter, and you could kind of see it. And she said she really leaned on her husband on the bag, and he was actually the one that ended up calming her down, telling her to breathe, tell her to take a sip of water, eat some food. And she credited it to the win at the end and said this was really a team effort in the end. And it kind of showed me how important the caddy is and that relationship is that you have. And obviously she doesn't normally have her husband on the bag. She said number 7 is her favorite number. So she's pretty happy that her 7th win was with her husband. But it was pretty cool to see. I actually tear up when I see little things like that. And to see her with a giant champagne bottle and her husband on the bag also with a giant champagne bottle, and they're clinking it at the end. And it was awesome to see. It was a really gallant effort and it was incredible.
Yeah, it's a bit of a turnaround from when we were talking about Ben's best, and I was talking about someone welcoming a child into the world, and you were that dismissive. That was it's nice to know that you do have an emotional bone in your body, Soph, after you just dismissed Darren Baines and Sophie and their beautiful little daughter Amelia. Nice to know that you do have some sort of heartbeat in that chest of yours.
Yeah, there is some emotional intelligence somewhere deep down, I think. And just for the record, this isn't Sophie's star. This is just a generic chat. I didn't credit Jared Felton as Sophie's star. I credited Hannah Green.
One thing that I took away from Hannah's victory, she was 4 up on the 14th tee, and you think from there she's going to win it pretty comfortably. She made bogey on 14. She got a horrendous lip out, one of those ones 180 for her par putt. It was a lengthy par putt, but it was brutally unlucky to miss. Minjee Lee, who was the player who was 4 back, birdies that hole. And you go from 4 up to 2 up in one hole, and I feel like that can potentially have that feeling of the world unraveling. Well, she steps up on the par 3 15th and nails it to not many feet and holds the putt for a 2. Minjee made 4 on that hole, and she immediately restores her 4-shot lead. And even though she made a bit of a meal of the last 2 going bogey, she'd done enough by there and deservedly lift the trophy. Just to be able to handle that moment where you've gone bogey on 14, lost your 4-shot lead, gets halved, and then step up and make birdie on the next. That is the true test of a high-quality elite athlete, and certainly Hannah Green fits that bill. And she's going to be very exciting in a bit over a week's time at the Women's Australian Open, Soph.
Yeah, well, all the Australians are going to be incredibly exciting. It was Grace Kim, Steph Kyriakou, and also Carrie Davidson was on the 18th green with her, also all having good weeks on their own. So I'm so excited for the Australian Open to see some of those Australians return home.
You talked about good caddies. I think we're going to have a discussion on it here. Can you tell me what happened at the New South Wales Women's Open, played at the Wollongong Golf Course? Firstly, tell me about the winner. I also want to hear about how the South Australians went. There is a story in and amongst all of this.
Well, the winner was Agath Linnae, and all credit to her, the French woman, 6 under in the final round. Absolutely textbook, continued to play her own game, wasn't the biggest hitter out there, but just plotted herself around. It was an incredible tournament to watch from the first tee off to the 72nd hole. This was played at Wollongong Golf Club. Play was actually suspended after the Thursday morning round because if you look at photos, and I encourage our listeners to, the entire course.
See the weather?
Yeah, it's just underwater. It's incredible.
I am a skeptic about professional golf. Men, women, it doesn't matter. I see play suspended and I think, what's happened? Have they got 10 knots of wind or, a little bit of rain? It was biblical what those women were playing in. And eventually they suspended play. It was about early afternoon, wasn't it? But the golf course was genuinely underwater. I was stunned that they actually played for as long as they did. And some of the girls were saying they could not believe the conditions they were playing in. One of the women walked off and she signed for a 2 under 69 and she almost didn't count her score. She said all she wanted to do was just get around the course and get off. Those conditions were as nasty as I've ever seen on a golf course.
Yeah, they were disgusting. And look, it was kind of like a British Open, obviously. Not like a British Open, but like a British Open in terms of the people who played on that Thursday morning and played in those horrible conditions, none of them were in the top 10. Because their scores just couldn't account for them. The people who got to come out on that Friday in sunny conditions, yes, they had to play the 36 holes in the one day, which is tiring. It's a challenge in itself, but just got the better conditions. And it was one of those tournaments where if you ended up on the wrong side of the draw, it plays a factor. Luck really did play a little bit of a factor in this tournament, not to take away from the amazing playing of some of the players. And I've got to give a bit of a shout out. I was feeling pretty good about my predictions from last week. After 54 holes, I said Hannah Reeves and Kelsey Bennett, they were leading. I may or may not have messaged the WhatsApp chat between Wallace and yourself and say I'm on a heater here. And unfortunately, they didn't stand up. They still played beautifully. And for some of their first times in these high pressure situations in something like the New South Wales Open, it was incredible to see. I was a bit upset when they didn't get it over the line. Did also love watching Sarah Kemp, who finished the top Australian T5 at 12 under. I don't know if you know this, Hookie, but she actually had a incident with a golf cart, maybe only 2 years ago, where she completely shattered her leg, broke it. And it's such an unfortunate event. She was pulling out a club from the back of the cart, and another cart has unfortunately rammed into her and essentially crushed her. So to come back, she was one of those players that had to play the 36 holes, which would have been hard on, I would say, 1.5 legs. To come back and shoot that 12 under, an exciting player and an incredible comeback story. But I have a sneaky suspicion you're going to ask me about the Korean amateur Sumi No, who bogeyed 16 and 18 to lose the tournament.
Yeah, led by 2 with 3 to play. So made bogey on 16, parred 17. A bogey from 70 metres out with her approach on 18. I asked you to go back and watch this, Soph. Her father was her caddy. They were arguing in the middle of the fairway on 18, trying to work out where she was going to lay up. And all I was saying to myself was, with a proper caddy, she wins this tournament. And I think her dad cost her the title. Now, she's an amateur. It's no cash involved. Dad was no help there whatsoever. As someone who has her father caddying for her, what did you make of it? Because I felt really uncomfortable watching that.
Well, I have to admit, Hookie, you did get me to rewatch it and go back to it because I honestly didn't see it in the first place. I was too busy talking to, I think, my partner at the time, Darcy, and I was talking to him about what would you do here. It was an 18th hole. It's a layup. You could go for it, but most of the girls weren't reaching it. It was a pretty interesting hole, actually. A very interesting stretch. Pitching wedge, par 3, 17th into a layup, par 5, 18th, with which a lot of water in play. It was interesting. I did rewatch it, and I agree with you. It did make me feel fairly uncomfortable. There was definitely a domestic happening on the bag. There was definitely okay, if you want to hit that, then it's all on you kind of decision from the caddy. And he still looked pretty upset when she even was hitting the club. And she hit a beautiful shot, I will add. Looked like a 3-wood or some description of a wood, little butter cut to about 70 metres off the green. But even as she was hitting it, he had his hands crossed. He did not look happy at all.
No, I felt like, and I don't speak Korean, so it's very difficult for me to know for sure, but it felt to me like the last thing he said to her, all right, well, you hit the club you want to hit, and if you stuff it up, it's on you, which is really not helpful from a caddy at all. She handled it really well, Sumino. I think it would have been probably devastating to blow it over the back of that green and then fail to get it up and down, but she smiled. She kept her emotions together in the aftermath of it. But if there's an argument about having a professional caddy on your bag, I thought that was it on that day. Anyway, great story. Congratulations to Agath Linnae. That's a massive win for her. Hannah Reeves has got into the WPGA Championship. She gets in on the strength of her top 10 finish. So congratulations to her. Good mate of yours, Soph. And of course, hopefully we'll get a start in the Women's Australian Open in a bit over a week's time as well. Can I cover off a couple of the major men's tournaments that have gone on around the world?
Yeah, take us over there.
Daniel Hillier has won the 105th New Zealand Open. Hillier, a New Zealand local, so it was tremendously exciting for him. I think he's the first New Zealand local winner in 9 years, so you can imagine what that meant to him. He only got married last week, Soph. His wife was out there on the 18th green celebrating the victory, and you could just see how much it meant to them because as excited as he was, she was just completely blown away. So you talk about, families and parents and partners. You talked about Hannah Green and Jared Felton when they won in Singapore. This had, that really similar feel of what it meant to them as a family, the exemptions that he'll get in, but just the prestige of winning the National Open of your country. He's had an incredible run, Daniel Hillier. I'll give you his run of last tournament since the start of the DP World season this year. He's gone T5, T16, T5, T6, outright second, T26, T4, T20th, and now a win. Puts him inside the top 100 in the world. He was already exempt into Birkdale for the Open Championship. So the good news for Australians is that the runner-up, Lucas Herbert, will now get that berth at Birkdale. So, and I'm really proud of what Lucas Herbert did. Of course, he's a member of the Ripper team in LIV. But he started this tournament par, bogey, double bogey. That was his first 3 holes on the Thursday. He only made 2 bogeys for the rest of the week. So he was really proud of that to be able to fight back. And in particular, let's be honest, Lucas Herbert's very well paid to play golf these days. And it would be very easy just to shrug his shoulders, to be 3 over after 3 and say, oh, well, not my week. I'll just knock it around, miss the cut, go home, get an early flight. But to really put that fight out there and work his way back into the tournament and be right into it at the pointy end and then, punch a ticket to the Open Championship, richly deserved, and congratulations to him, Soph. So that was the New Zealand Open.
Yeah, it was huge. I don't actually have anything more to add. That was exactly what was on my notes. I think it was incredibly impressive from Danielle Hillier, only 27. You're dead right. Hasn't been a Kiwi win since 2017, and can imagine there's nothing like winning your home Open.
Just a little side story that's come out of it, Soph. Wade Ormsby played really well, never won on the Australasian Tour, and he was in the mix for a long time. Didn't quite have his best stuff on the final day, but I've only just noticed that Phil Mickelson has pulled out of the upcoming Live event, and Wade Ormsby has his spot with the High Flyers. So another big, wealthy paying tournament for Wade. Really pleased for him that he gets another start at Live.
Absolutely huge. Hookie, why don't you take us over to the US?
Yeah, Nico Echevarria has won the Cognizant Classic. So he earns a start at the Masters. He's the first one to earn a berth this year by winning a tournament that gets you the automatic exemption into the Masters if you win on the PGA Tour. So it's massive for him. But the big story was Shane Lowry, Soph, who was 3 up with 3 to play and made inexplicable doubles on the 16th and 17th. This is the world-famous Bear Trap at PGA National. So the course that was designed by Jack Nicklaus, where there's water everywhere on really the last 4 holes. He survived the first one, the par 3, made an absolute meal of the par 4 16th, took 3-iron off the tee, hit it a mile right, put it in the water and had to drop a long way back and made double from there. Did well to make double because he was way out of position through 4, wrong side of the bunker. And then I've never seen anything quite like it from a professional golfer on the next hole. The par 3, he hit so far right, it nearly missed the water on the other side of the lake. And this is not an insignificant lake, so Shane Lowry ended up finishing 3rd place, 2 shots back from Echevarria. Data Golf had Shane Lowry 96.7% to win that tournament when he stood on the 16th tee. So you can understand what an unravelling that was. I've got to say, and I think we've had this conversation last week, Soph, but it's so disappointing that this tournament has lost a lot of its edge. It's in the midst of a heap of signature events, and then we've got Bay Hill and the players to come, and this is the obvious tournament that the big name players take off. So I think you identified it last week, Soph, only one of the top 50 in the world played this event. Shane Lowry loves this event, has been very, very successful in it. I've got to hand it to him. He did step up and do media. And one of the things he said really broke my heart. He said, the hardest thing about today is I've never won in front of my 4-year-old and she was there waiting for me. I only wanted it for her today. I didn't want it for, and then he sort of lost his voice for a bit. He said, I don't care about anything else. I wanted it so bad. Just to see a little ginger hair running down the 18th green would have been the most special thing in the world. I thought I had it. I thought I was going to win. So for someone who can be a bit tetchy with media, the fact that he stepped up and just sort of opened himself up to that sort of emotion, I thought was really beautiful, and hats off to him.
It's exactly the story that I had. We're having a really family podcast, Hookie.
We
really
should
all
maybe
the
chat
feels.
about what we're going to talk about beforehand.
Yeah. But all the feels, I had the same thing. Listen, and you're right. Lowry has got a reputation of dodging media when he's had a loss or doesn't want to talk about it. He's barked back at the Masters being like, I don't want to talk about Rory McIlroy just because I'm best mates with him and he's winning. And he can bite back at the media a little bit, but hats off to him. It was a really beautiful interview. I also thought it was dead interesting. The media wanted to keep pressing it on a little bit, and he just went, look, I've got a tee time Thursday at Bay Hill. There's no choice but to move on, and I have to just keep going. And that is the reality of professional golf, is he doesn't have time to focus on those last 3 holes that he had. It's time to move on. He's got Bay Hill and he's got a big stretch of golf coming up. So hopefully he can get that win for his baby girl and she can hopefully be around that green shortly.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I just have to say, the volatility of golf courses like that are exactly what the PGA Tour needs. I know that they're talking about a massive overhaul of the schedule, and we could be seeing tournaments that are played early in the year move to later in the high time of the season. I just hope that there is a way for a course like this, in particular if it's prepared properly. It's way too soft. It's been overseeded. I'm sure you probably saw that it was preferred lies for the final round yesterday. They had half an inch of rain overnight. I mean, that doesn't happen anywhere else in the world except the most elite level of professional golf. It doesn't happen in the majors. It only seems to happen on the PGA Tour, and it frustrates me that they continually pour all sorts of water and prepare these courses in a manner that they look nice and green on TV, but it has an adverse effect on the actual golf, and something's got to be done about it because it's a massive problem.
Yeah, 100%.
So I love talking golf with you, and we could talk about international golf forever, but it is so important that we get to the first instalment of our Sanderson Cup preview. You're going to take it away when we catch up with Emily Giotis of the Kooyonga Golf Club, and of course from the Blackwood Golf Club, Hannah Custance.
The special welcome of two really veterans of the Sanderson Cup. I am joined by Hannah Custance from Blackwood and Kooyonga, Emily Giotis. Welcome both.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hannah, I'm going to stick with you. And look, I know it's always a bit weird talking to the opposition, but look, this week we're not playing each other. You're actually playing Emily over here from Kooyonga. I've heard some sneaky rumours that Blackwood's team is looking very different from what it has from previous years.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of new players. We've got Emily Giotis, who some of you will probably know, most recently doing a traineeship at Royal, and is obviously a very, very good player. We're excited to have her in the squad. And Izzy Watson is another newbie. So she's most recently Wollonga. She was a junior at Royal as well. So we've also got our third new member of the squad is Steph Bilby, who's only taken up golf 2 years ago and has just raced down her handicap. So yeah, it's exciting times at Blackwood.
Hannah, how have you gone about recruiting such big names? I mean, that is awesome for the competition and awesome for your club, but that wouldn't have been easy. They don't fall off trees, players like that.
No, so we've been really trying to work hard to sort of recruit that age group of kind of the 20 to 40-year-olds. There's a bit of a gap in that sort of, you'd probably say gap's probably maybe the 30 to 40-year-olds in women's golf in SA, I believe. So yeah, we've been trying to work hard and make it sort of family friendly kind of club, and just kind of get a good team going, very welcoming sort of club, and just making some connections and really trying to build that team culture.
Emily, I'll turn to you. Kooyonga has been going through a bit of a change as well. You've had a lot of players heading off to the US and playing college. Kooyonga's got an unbelievable junior development program. So you guys kind of have to deal with those waves of you've got players for a few years and then they jet off to college. How's your team shaping up for this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like every year it's a balance between having some experienced players returning. This year especially, it's an exciting time for the Kooyonga girls. We've got some amazing young junior golfers coming up through the squad. Our younger girls have shown some great signs over their school holidays, playing lots of golf and posting some great scores. So yeah, some great form heading into the season. And especially for me, I was really nurtured into the women's Pennants side at Kooyonga when I was younger. So it's really important to me, Matilda, and other girls in our team to really welcome these younger girls. So it's an exciting time.
Emily, I noticed that Sophie introduced you at the start as a veteran. Can I just confirm your age, please?
I'm 21 in a month.
So, yeah, I mean, you're headed for the seniors tour shortly. How do you get veteran status as a 21-year-old? How many years have you played Sanderson Cup?
Oh, Sanderson Cup. I think post-COVID, I was playing Sanderson. I started Pike in 2019. I sort of transitioned from Sharp Cup to Pike Golf, and then post-COVID was in the Sanderson side.
veteran was probably a harsh term. I was more saying that I come up against Emily and Hannah all the time, and I'm used to getting my ass spanked by both of them, outdriven by a mile. Hannah was, I don't even know how many months pregnant you were when you were out driving me. So that's more what I was trying to point to, Cookie. Without this year is obviously in summer. It's the second time that we've had it in summer. I'll turn this question to you, Hannah, because unfortunately when we did have Pennant in winter, often Blackwood was rained out or we'd start and the first hole would be underwater just because we'd always had torrential rain. How are you finding the change in the summer season for Pennant?
Yeah, I always found the scheduling slightly interesting in that I feel like in the winter season it would have made the most sense to put Blackwood first, but it always seemed to be kind of one of the last games in the wettest time. So yeah, that didn't seem to make a lot of sense. So on that, yeah, Blackwood is amazing in the summer and the autumn. It's really beautiful. It's only a really short period where it kind of gets really unplayable. So yeah, I enjoy it. It's great. I feel like this season is a bit stop-start because we've got the Women's Open, Easter. It seems like we've got 4 games spread over about 8 weeks or something with the bye as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of get some momentum.
Hannah, traditionally, do you feel like you've been disadvantaged by the fact that every other team that you play against in the competition has a Pike Cup team? I was having a look for Blackwood. Not only do you not have a Pike Cup team, you don't have an A3 team either. I mean, it's really just U5 and that's it, isn't it? That's historically how it's been. Do you feel like, in particular this year where you've managed to pull in some big name recruits, that a little bit of extra depth will go a long way, in particular a season that's elongated by some breaks?
Yeah, possibly. I feel like we have lacked a bit of depth, certainly, over the last few seasons. We've been pretty competitive, sort of just missed out a few times. So I feel like a bit more depth will go a long way. But we're really also pushing our junior program to hopefully kind of build that next generation that will be able to sort of step in a bit more like Kooyonga and those clubs. So there's lots happening and we can sort of see some payoff this season and hopefully in the next few years as well.
Emily, Hannah mentioned it, but it is true. There is a bit of a stop-start to this season. Obviously, you guys play this week and then we have a bye for the Aussie Open and then obviously we have the Easter long weekend. It was also a very short season. There is only 4 minor rounds and then we hit a final, which is now this year only 2v3 and then first get straight into the grand final. You mentioned that you have a lot of juniors in the Kooyonga side. How do you go about shaping up for your team this year, particularly when there's not a lot of opportunity to, potentially give players a run? There is only 4 minor games and only the top 3 get into finals this year.
Absolutely. This is definitely going to be an interesting change. I think it's definitely a short sprint and we're going to have to really prepare for each round because there's an added pressure on the minor rounds, which you didn't really have previously. And I think we've got a really great resource for our women's pennant team. We've got Peter Cook as our coach. We're so grateful and fortunate to have Cookie on our side. And he just brings this level of experience and with so much competitive golf playing all around Australia and especially in SA. So when we're playing courses like Blackwood, we haven't played in a while, really reaching into Cookie's expertise and especially for the younger girls who maybe haven't played as much golf at the other courses, having a meeting together as a team on a Thursday night and having some tactics going into the weekend will be so important, especially with the shorter season.
Emily, we're about a week and a half away from the Women's Australian Open. Must be a fair bit of fun at the moment doing all of your preparation on a course that's days away from hosting the national championship.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I played on Saturday and even through the torrential rain, the course was in peak condition. And it's so special to play a course that has the grandstands and stuff on it. It's just, insane. The course I don't think has looked better in a long time. So excited to be able to play Pennant on it as well after we host the Australian Open. It will be exciting.
Hannah, Pennant is obviously a teamed event and it's hard to separate it. For our listeners, what's your greatest individual moment for Pennant so far?
I don't know if I can name one. Probably just I think a couple of years ago I was playing number 1. I think this was pre-children, and I had a win after at Grange on the East Course after literally topping my first tee shot. It went about like 10 meters and I was horrifically embarrassed and ended up losing that hole, but I ended up winning the match on the 18th. So yeah, that one sticks in my mind. So I'll probably have to say that one.
Hannah, I have this almost fastidious obsession with following local sport, whether it's cricket, footy, golf, tennis, doesn't really matter. If there's local sport going on, I like to be across it. And I've noticed that you're not the only talented Hannah Custance around local South Australian sport. There's a Hannah Custance who is very, very good in the world of Gaelic football. There's another Hannah Custance who has played NPL soccer, in particular for Cumberland United. I reckon about 8 or 9 years ago, scored 17 goals in a season. What is it with all these different Hannah Custances who are good at sport? Are you aware of these other Hannah Custances, Hannah?
Yes, all me. I do love all the different sports. Yeah, it's been tough to specialize because I just love them all. So yeah, it's particularly Gaelic football. I think that's probably my number one sporting love. It's my favorite game, I think, even tops golf.
Are you still going around?
For Gaelic football, yes. We've just wrapped up our local season, but I am playing in the World Games in Ireland in July. So I've made the Australasian squad, which is very exciting.
Hannah, that's so exciting to make an Australian team for Gaelic football. That's unreal. How do you find, obviously golf is an individual sport. How do you take what you've learned from all these other sports, which are traditionally team, and taking them into pennant?
Yeah, it's a good. I do actually love Pennant for that reason. Like, I'm obviously a team sport player in general, so I have found playing golf different in that sense. It's usually so individual. So Pennant is so much fun, getting around the other girls and supporting their matches, and just the camaraderie, and having training sessions together. And yeah, I really enjoy that aspect of it. I don't think I probably contribute that much in terms of like team sport knowledge. Yeah, I just really enjoy it.
Oh, I wouldn't sell yourself short. I always feel like you don't think you're contributing, but you're probably contributing more than you realize. Emily, I have to ask, Kooyonga, you won the Sanderson Trophy in 2023. You won it in 2024. Can I ask, is there a better win? Is there a win you liked better?
Oh my gosh, that is such a hard question, but I think 2023 has to have been one of the most special days in my entire life. We hadn't won the Sanderson Cup since 2006, and it was our centenary year. And I remember sitting down with Heath Richies at our centenary gala at the start of the year, and we just said, imagine if we both won pennant. That would just bring the club together. And the fact that we did it, it was 2 matches that went down to the 19th hole at our home club. It could not have been written more perfectly for our golf club, and it just really brought the men and the women together, and we just look back on that day so fondly and bring it up over dinners and things, and I remember it for the rest of my life. So yeah, 2023, but then to pull it off in 2024 as well was so special. So both, but I'd have to say 2023.
Yeah, the celebrations looked absolutely incredible after both 23 and 24, but I will admit after 23 it was particularly big from what I could see. I unfortunately was the other side of the pond, not celebrating as hard after I duck hooked my approach shot on the 19th, but I'm glad someone got to celebrate, Emily, and I was glad it was you and your team. Now I have to ask, Bonner, there's another Giotis. Is that a brother?
Oh my gosh, he's going to be so flattered. I'm telling him this right after we finish the call. That's my dad. Yeah, Dad loves his golf. He got me into golf from when I was a little girl. We would play golf together on holidays. And yeah, he brought my competitive love to golf as well. So he's playing Bonner this year as well, played last year, and he has so much fun with it. And it's so great to go through our rounds together on a Sunday afternoon, and he's having the best time. They had a good win on the weekend for their team. So yeah, exciting time for the Giotis family.
Well, he's often on the bag. So how are you feeling having him kicked off?
He's such a great caddy. He knows my game better than me, but seeing him play is, yeah, very special. So I'd rather watch him play, to be honest.
Well, that's a pretty incredible story. Hannah, Emily, I want to wish you both the best of luck for the rest of the season. Both good luck for your upcoming match at Royal Adelaide. Royal's looking pretty good, probably a biased opinion, but I hope you both enjoy it. I'm sad that the Royal girls don't get to play Sanderson there this year. Best of luck to the both of you, and I'll see you both out there.
Thanks
very much.
Thanks for having us.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much to Emily and Hannah. Of course, part 2 of our preview for the Sanderson Cup will be later in the week. We'll preview all of the men's Simpson Cup round 3 matches as well. Soph, always such good fun. And again, just your expertise and insight into what is going on in international golf is first class, mate. Thank you so much.
No, as always, an absolute pleasure. Hookie, see you later on in the week.
With the last putt sunk, that's a wrap on this golf edition of Hooked on Sport. Thanks for listening. Help us meet more golfers just like you by following us and leaving a review. We look forward to your company on the next golf edition of Hooked on Sport.